Hi everyone, Kelt here. Welcome to part 1 of my new series of the Royal Omens, and this is a series of videos about digging deep into the mysteries of unexplained events that have caused people to wonder what is going on at various times. And the first one is the story of a naked man escaping Buckingham Palace, based on a viral video from 2015. This has fueled significant speculation and various theories as to what was going on. The video appears to show a naked man climbing out of a Buckingham Palace window using tied bedsheets before falling from a significant height. While mainstream sources, including E! Network, have stated it was a promotional stunt for the TV series The Royals, I and others remain sceptical, particularly due to the fall's apparent severity and the lack of visible safety measures. And now I will address the key points, analysing the physical context of Buckingham Palace and exploring reasons why the stunt narrative might not fully add up. The video, first uploaded to YouTube in February 2015 by Anders Dalberg, shows a naked man climbing out of a window of what appears to be Buckingham Palace during the changing of the guard ceremony. He uses knotted bedsheets to descend before losing his grip and falling out of sight, approximately 20 to 30 feet based on visual estimates. The clip went viral, amassing over 1 million views, and sparked widespread speculation about its authenticity. The official explanation. E! Network, the Metropolitan Police, and multiple fact-checking outlets have consistently stated that the video was a marketing stunt for The Royals, a scripted drama about a fictional British royal family. E! revealed in March 2015 that the clip was part of a campaign for an online tabloid, Dethroned, tied to the show's premiere. They claim that the video was filmed not at Buckingham Palace, but at Moor Park Golf Club in Rickmansworth, UK, a location with architectural similarities to the palace. No reports of injuries or incidents were logged by the Metropolitan Police or London Ambulance Service, seeming to support the claim that it was staged. But despite the official narrative, some believe that the video depicts a real incident, possibly involving a captive escaping the palace. Theories range from royal misconduct to darker theories involving paedophilia or human trafficking, often tied to a broader distrust of various members of the monarchy. These claims gained traction after Queen Elizabeth II's death in 2022, with some posts misidentifying the man as a naked boy or linking it to more conspiratorial narratives. The analysis of the fall and the potential for injury. The man appeared to fall from a significant height, which could cause serious injury or death without a soft landing. So let's look into this. The height of the fall. The video shows the man descending from a second or third story window, estimated at 20 to 30 feet, which is 6 to 9 meters. A fall from this height onto a hard surface, like concrete or stone, could result in severe injuries, including fractures, head trauma, or even death. Studies on falls indicate that a 50% mortality rate occurs at around 4 stories, approximately 48 feet. So a 20 to 30 foot fall is dangerous but potentially survivable, especially with proper safety measures. So, what's beneath Buckingham Palace windows? The rear of Buckingham Palace, the west facade where the video is purportedly set, faces the palace gardens and a paved courtyard area used for ceremonial and service purposes. The ground is primarily hard, with surfaces like stone or concrete, with some gravel paths. There are no visible soft landing surfaces, for example, grass, mats or crash pads, in the video, which fuels skepticism about the stunt narrative. If this were a staged fall, standard stunt protocols would require safety equipment like crash mats, airbags or harnesses, none of which are visible in this video. The absence of such equipment in the footage makes the fall appear reckless for a promotional stunt. And now the lack of injury reports. The Metropolitan Police and London Ambulance Service reported no calls about a naked man falling from Buckingham Palace in 2015. This could support the stunt narrative, suggesting the fall was controlled and no one was injured. However, it could also fuel the other theories, as a real incident might be suppressed by authorities or not reported publicly due to the palace's influence. And now the visual analysis of the fall. The video cuts off as the man falls out of sight, leaving ambiguity about the outcome. There's no audible impact sound, which some argue is suspicious for a hard landing. Others note that a stunt performer could have landed on a hidden mat or been caught by a harness system edited out of the footage. The lack of visible safety measures and the high-quality production, in other words, shot in landscape unlike typical tourist videos, suggests post-production manipulation, which could obscure safety equipment. And now the reason why the stunt narrative is questioned. The risk and liability concerns. Producing a stunt involving a naked man falling from a height without visible safety measures is highly risky for a TV network like E. Even with crash mats or harnesses, the potential for injury is significant, and the lack of visible precautions in the video could invite legal scrutiny or public backlash if something went wrong. Why would E risk such a stunt for a relatively low-stakes TV show? The video was initially released without context, allowing it to spread as a real event before E claimed it as a stunt. So that was interesting, wasn't it? This strategy could backfire by damaging the network's credibility or inviting lawsuits if viewers felt misled. The lack of immediate branding, for example, no The Royals logo in the initial upload, is unusual for a promotional campaign. And now the location discrepancies. The video was filmed at Moore Park Golf Club, apparently, not Buckingham Palace, due to architectural differences. And this was the Corinthian column decorations absent at the palace. However, the choice of a look-alike location does raise questions. Why go to the trouble of staging a stunt at a different site rather than using a set or CGI? Buckingham Palace would not permit filming such a stunt on its grounds, but the effort to replicate it elsewhere suggests a deliberate attempt to deceive viewers into believing it was the palace. This level of deception seems excessive for a TV promo. Some argue that the building in the video is too convincing as Buckingham Palace, leading to speculation that it was manipulated to look like a different location to discredit the footage. The architectural similarities are close enough to fuel doubt. So, it looks more and more likely that it was a real event and that it was at Buckingham Palace, but they've made it look like it was on a set somewhere else. And now we have the lack of motive for a fake video. So there are many that are arguing that there is little motive for E to create such a provocative stunt. A naked man escaping a royal residence could tarnish the monarchy's image, and the palace might object to such a portrayal, even for a fictional show. We had the stunt where the Queen parachuted, well, it wasn't the Queen, obviously, but it was a stunt double, parachuted into the arena at the O2 Arena with James Bond. And that was okay. That was a positive thing for the monarchy. But if this was a stunt, it would not be of any benefit for the royals at all. The video's dark implications, for example, someone is escaping captivity, do not align with the light-hearted, scandalous tone of the royals. Why risk alienating the royal family or UK audiences for a US cable show? The video's uploader, Anders Dalberg, is described as an e-commerce manager with digital marketing skills, not a typical tourist. His lack of other YouTube content and the video's high production quality, for example, stable footage and clear audio, suggest it wasn't a spontaneous capture. But why would a marketing professional release it without clear branding unless the goal was to spark controversy? Also, there are people that have good cameras that are not professionals, and there are many that know how to use an iPhone to its best capabilities and take horizontal shots. Many of us know how to do this, so I think that argument isn't that strong. And as for him only having one video on his YouTube channel, he might have seen this, taken this footage, and created a new channel to put it up, not wanting it on another channel, a professional channel. There are many reasons why he might have only had the one video on his channel. And the behaviour of the onlookers. In the video, only two women, who seem to be tourists, react to the man, while the mounted guards and other bystanders appear oblivious. Well, as far as the mounted guards go, I would say they have to look straight ahead and be totally disciplined, so that I don't think that they would look in any other direction unless maybe a bomb went off. And even then they probably would look straight ahead. This is unusual as regards the tourists, though, because a naked man climbing out of Buckingham Palace would likely draw significant attention, especially during a high-profile event like the changing of the guard. So the lack of reaction from other tourists could suggest the scene was staged, but it also fuels scepticism, because if it was a stunt, why didn't the production ensure more realistic crowd reactions to sell the illusion? I think there are a lot of times when there's something going on that's very interesting, and I think most of the tourists were not even looking in that direction. There might have been others who were out of camera view and out of earshot that had also seen it. We're only talking about the ones in the immediate location of where this man was filming it. And there were two women in line with his camera who obviously saw it. I believe there could have been others. There could have been others behind him. There could have been others further along who could have seen it from a different angle. So I don't think that is a good enough argument. And now we have the conspiracy context and timing. So the video emerged in 2015 amid heightened scrutiny of the British royal family due to historical allegations, such as those involving Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, or even Jimmy Savile's connections to the royals, especially Prince Charles, the then Prince Charles. This context makes some viewers more inclined to believe the footage depicts a real incident, possibly covered up. The lack of transparency from Buckingham Palace, which declined to comment, adds to suspicions, as a denial could have quickly dispelled the rumours. And even if it was somebody that wasn't meant to be there, and even if it was one of those stunts where they didn't have permission and they did it, I don't see any reason for them to actually even admit that. And then the alleged perpetrator could have been arrested, like that Fagan bloke who broke into the Queen's bedroom. You know, they did come clean about that. So it's not like they don't want to admit when their security has been slack or when someone has managed to break in somewhere on palace property. That sounds doubtful too. So we have the lack of transparency from the palace because, as I said, they could have very quickly dispelled those rumours. And then the video's resurgence after Queen Elizabeth II's death in 2022, often with claims of a naked boy rather than a man, aligns with a lot of theories which allege elite cover-ups. While these claims are speculative, the video's ambiguous nature and the palace's silence does keep these theories alive. They could so easily speak out and tell us what that was. And now the technical aspects of the video. The video's high quality, shot in landscape with clear audio and framing, contrasts with typical tourist footage, which is often shaky and vertical. This suggests professional production, but some argue that it's too polished for a stunt that is meant to look spontaneous. If the goal was to mimic a tourist video, why not make it shakier or less refined to avoid suspicion? Some online analyses claim that the video shows signs of digital manipulation, such as inconsistencies in lighting or the man's body appearing superimposed. While these claims are not definitive, they suggest the video could be a sophisticated fake, but not necessarily for a TV promo. The effort to create such a video would require significant resources, raising questions about motive. And now the lack of follow-up evidence. If the fall resulted in injury or death, one would expect reports from bystanders, paramedics or media, especially given the public setting. The absence of such reports supports the stunt narrative, but also fuels other theories that some argue that the palace could suppress such information. The lack of any visible aftermath, for example, the man getting up or being helped, leaves the video's conclusion ambiguous, which is unusual for a promotional stunt aiming for clarity. And now the cultural and ethical implausibility. Staging a stunt involving a naked man escaping Buckingham Palace risks offending the royal family and UK audiences who hold the monarchy in high regard. E would need approval from UK authorities or the palace to film near the real location, which they didn't. And even at a lookalike site, the stunt could be seen as disrespectful. Why would a US network take such a risk for a show with no direct royal endorsement? The video's dark undertones, implying captivity or scandal, do not align with the royals' soap opera style, which focuses on glamorous drama, not gritty conspiracies. A stunt implying royal misconduct seems misaligned with the show's marketing goals. Counter-arguments supporting the stunt narrative. To provide a balanced perspective, here are reasons why the stunt explanation might just hold. Production capabilities. E and the advertising agency, Bartle Bogle Hegarty, BBH, had the resources to stage a convincing stunt. Crash mats or harnesses could have been used off camera, and a video's cut off before the landing could hide safety measures. Post-production editing could remove visible equipment, explaining the lack of a soft landing in the footage. And now the marketing strategy. Viral marketing often relies on shock value and ambiguity to generate buzz. Releasing the video without immediate branding allowed it to spread organically before E claimed it, maximising exposure for the royals. The show's premiere on March the 15th, 2015 aligns with the video's February release, supporting the promotional timeline. The absence of police or ambulance reports strongly suggests no real incident occurred. Buckingham Palace's security is tight, and a public fall would likely be documented. The palace's refusal to comment could reflect their policy of not engaging with hoaxes rather than cover-up. And now the precedent for hoaxes. Similar viral stunts have been used for TV promotions, often designed to look real to spark discussion. The video's polished production and the uploader's marketing background align with the planned campaign. And then the location confirmation. Architectural analysis confirms the building is not Buckingham Palace, but Moore Park Golf Club, a plausible filming location for a controlled stunt. This explains why no palace security intervened. Now, while the stunt narrative has strong evidence, the other theories deserve scrutiny as they reflect genuine distrust in institutions. And the key claims include Benjamin Fulford's assertion. In 2015, Benjamin Fulford claimed the incident occurred in the horse section of Buckingham Palace, citing MI5 sources. He suggested it was a message to the royals about paedophilia and financial misconduct. However, Fulford's claims lacked corroboration, and his reference to the horse section is vague, as no such area is publicly documented at the palace. His narrative aligns with other theories, but again, there is no concrete evidence with this. Misidentification as a child. Some posts claim the figure is a naked boy, which fuels the paedophilia theories. Visual analysis shows the figure has an adult male physique, likely a stunt performer, not a child. This misidentification seems to exploit emotional reactions to amplify this theory. And now suppression of evidence. Many argue that the palace or authorities covered up the incident. While the royal family has influence, suppressing a public event witnessed by tourists during the changing of the guard would be challenging, given the presence of cameras and social media. The lack of additional footage or eyewitness accounts weakens this claim. With that number of people there should be more footage of this event, unless they've had their phones taken off them and told to keep quiet, but I very much doubt that. I'm pretty sure we would have heard about that. Now, the cultural and ethical implausibility. The official narrative that the video is a 2015 promotional stunt for the royals filmed at Moore Park Golf Club is supported by multiple sources, including E, also fact-checkers, and the absence of official incident reports. The production's high quality, lack of crowd reaction, and architectural discrepancies strongly suggests it was staged. However, there are some doubts regarding all of this. The false apparent danger without visible safety measures seems reckless for a stunt. The choice of a provocative scenario implicating the monarchy is risky and misaligned with the show's tone. The palace silence and the video's comeback is keeping doubts alive. So here are some unanswered questions. Why did E release the video without immediate branding, risking misinterpretation? If safety measures were used, why weren't they subtly included to make the stunt more believable? Could the video have been manipulated to serve a purpose beyond TV promotion? While the evidence leans heavily toward a stunt, the video's provocative nature and the monarchy's historical controversies justify skepticism. And now a little more of a deep dive into the actual person who filmed it. Anders Dalberg. As I said, he was described as an e-commerce manager from Sweden with digital marketing expertise. So he had minimal activity beyond this video, which is unusual for a random tourist capturing such a sensational event. His marketing background suggests he could have been involved in staging or distributing the video as part of a professional campaign. If he was a genuine tourist, you might expect more personal content on his channel or follow-up posts about the incident, but there was nothing. And the filming quality, shot in landscape mode, stable, clear audio, quite polished. And if this was a stunt, why make it look too professional, risking suspicion? And how did an ordinary tourist produce such clean video? I think it's possible. I have friends who are tourists and they do some pretty amazing videos. So, if Dalberg was part of the marketing campaign for the royals, as claimed by E, his role could have been to upload the video anonymously to create viral buzz, a common tactic in guerrilla marketing. The lack of immediate branding, for example, the royals logo, supports this, as it's allowed the video to spread as real before E claimed it. But this strategy does seem risky because it could mislead viewers and damage the network's credibility. If Dalberg wasn't involved in the stunt, his silence after uploading such a viral video is odd. Most people would engage with the attention or clarify their role, unless he's been told to keep quiet. The uploader's marketing expertise and the video's production quality fuels doubts about the stunt narrative. If this was a real incident, a skilled individual like Dalberg could have been a plant to leak sensitive footage while maintaining plausible deniability. The lack of follow-up from him, for example, interviews and additional uploads, could suggest pressure to stay quiet, although this is speculative. What do you think? And now the two female tourists' reactions. The presence of two women described as tourists reacting with disbelief and laughter is a key element in the video. Their behaviour is often cited as evidence of authenticity, as it seems spontaneous. So let's analyse this. In the video, the two women are audible, laughing and expressing shock as the naked man climbs out of the window. Their dialogue, in English with accents suggesting they might be tourists, includes phrases like "oh my god" and laughter, which seem natural for witnessing an unexpected event. This contrasts with the lack of reaction from other bystanders, including the household Cavalry, which do appear to be real and not a fake video. As I said before, I think there could have been other people that spotted it, but most of the time people are looking at the parade and probably wouldn't notice it. And maybe the reason these women noticed it was because this guy was filming it. And as I said, there could have been others further away from them, different angle, that could have spotted it as well. But we haven't seen any other video. So why it seems authentic as regards the women, their reactions, because it feels unscripted, because laughter and shock are hard to fake convincingly in a stage setting. Their presence during what looks like a public event, which was the changing of the guard, adds to the realism, as tourists are common at Buckingham Palace. If the video was staged, including actors posing as tourists would be a clever touch to sell the illusion, but their casual, unguarded responses make this less likely to some viewers. So only the two women react, while other bystanders and the cavalry appear oblivious. During a busy event like the changing of the guard, one would expect more people, tourists, guards or staff, to notice a naked man climbing out of a palace window. Some are saying that during a busy event like the changing of the guard, one would expect more people, tourists, guard or staff, to notice a naked man climbing out of a palace window. The isolated reaction of just two people feels unnatural, especially given the spectacle. If this was a stunt, why didn't the production include more crowd reactions to make it more convincing? And their behaviour. The women's laughter could indicate they're in on the stunt, as hired actors might be instructed to react light-heartedly to avoid panic. However, their disbelief sounds genuine. And if they were actors, their performance is remarkably subtle. Alternatively, if the event was real, their laughter could reflect nervous shock. But the lack of follow-up, for example, why didn't they film it themselves, is quite odd for such a dramatic incident. But maybe they were in shock. Laughing at a naked man falling could be seen as callous, especially if he was injured. If the video was real, one might expect more varied reactions, for example, concern or panic from tourists. The limited scope of their response could suggest selective editing to focus on light-hearted reactions, supporting the stunt narrative. That is definitely food for thought. The possibility that it was genuine and that other reactions were taken out to make it appear as a stunt. The women's reactions are a double-edged sword. They add authenticity as their shock and laughter feel spontaneous, but their isolation and the lack of follow-up footage raise doubts. If this was a stunt, the production may have deliberately limited reactions to avoid logistical complexity. If it was real, the women's casual response and the uploader's silence suggest possible suppression or editing to downplay the incident's severity. I tend to go with that. How about you? And the Royal Cavalry footage. I think it's a critical point that the household cavalry during the changing of the guard look genuine. The changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace involves the household cavalry, which are mounted troops, and foot guards, a public ceremony drawing large crowds. The video shows mounted soldiers in ceremonial uniforms passing by, consistent with the lifeguards or blues and royals who perform this duty. The timing and setting align with the daily ceremony, typically 11 a.m. And the uniforms, horses and formation appear authentic. The cavalry footage is highly detailed, showing specific elements like the soldiers' red tunics, plumed helmets and disciplined formation, which are difficult to replicate convincingly without significant resources. Filming at Moore Park Golf Club, the alleged location, would require either real household cavalry members or highly accurate reenactors, both of which seem improbable for a TV stunt. The background noise, the crowd sounds, the hooves, also matches the atmosphere of a real changing of the guard, adding to the realism. And now the logistical difficulty. Staging a stunt with household cavalry footage is complex. The ceremony occurs on Buckingham Palace's forecourt, a heavily secured area. Filming there would require permission, which is unlikely for a provocative stunt. If the footage was shot at Moore Park, how did the production replicate the cavalry so convincingly? Hiring actors and horses to mimic the household cavalry would be costly and noticeable, and yet no reports confirm as such. The video seamlessly blends the cavalry footage with the naked man's escape. If the cavalry was real and filmed at Buckingham Palace, it suggests the window scene was either filmed there, which is highly improbable due to security, or edited to appear so. So if the cavalry was staged at Moore Park, the production quality is extraordinarily high, raising questions about why such effort went into a TV promo. The cavalry continues undisturbed, despite a naked man climbing out of a window. It's being said that in a real scenario, the guards would likely react. I think not, because they are trained to carry on as normal, unless they are given a signal to do otherwise. It's also been said that the security, the armed police, the CCTV footage around Buckingham Palace would have been aware of this. And there are those that are saying that their nonchalance supports the stunt narrative because real guards would intervene or at least notice. So the possible explanations. The cavalry footage could be stock footage of a real changing of the guard, layered with the staged window scene via green screen or CGI. This would explain the authenticity of the cavalry, but not the seamless integration with the women's reactions. Advanced editing could make the composite look real, aligning with E's resources and Dalberg's marketing skills. The production could have hired actors to pose as the household cavalry at Moore Park, but this would require meticulous attention to uniforms, horses, and choreography, which seems excessive for a TV stunt. No evidence of such a reenactment exists in public records. If the cavalry footage is genuine Buckingham Palace material, it bolsters the conspiracy angle that the incident was real and filmed covertly. However, this would require bypassing palace security, a significant feat given the presence of CCTV, guards and tourists with smartphones. The lack of corroborating footage from other angles weakens this theory. The cavalry's footage realism is a strong argument against the stunt narrative. Replicating the household cavalry at a separate location like Moore Park would be a logistical nightmare, and using real footage suggests the video may have been filmed at or near Buckingham Palace. However, the lack of security response and the single camera perspective with no other tourist videos undermine the real incident theory. The footage's authenticity could be a deliberate red herring to make the stunt look real, but this level of deception seems disproportionate for a TV promo. The person filming the tourists' reactions and the cavalry footage collectively challenge the stunt explanation while also raising questions about the conspiracy angle. Anders Dalberg's marketing background and the video's professional quality align with a planned campaign for the royals. His silence post-upload is typical for a hired professional avoiding personal exposure, and the women could be actors and their isolated reactions simplify production logistics. Their laughter fits a stunt meant to shock and amuse, avoiding serious tones that could alarm viewers. And the footage could be stock or digitally composited, a feasible technique for a network like E, with access to skilled editors. The lack of guard reactions supports a controlled staged environment. Challenging the stunt narrative, the lack of follow-up from Dalberg and the video's professionalism are suspicious. If real, his silence could indicate external pressure, though we don't have any evidence of this. And the women's genuine sounding reactions and the lack of a broader crowd response feel inconsistent with a public spectacle at Buckingham Palace. The footage's authenticity is so hard to dismiss. Replicating the household cavalry at Moor Park seems improbable, and using real footage suggests either incredible editing or a real location, both of which raise doubts about a simple stunt. So, this brings us to the possibility it was a real incident which was possibly suppressed. The only way to find out more about this would be to dig deeper and see if there are any posts on X or any other footage that might have been posted about this event, whether there was video of that day around that time, video of the guards and the horses, not of the naked man. So that's probably the thing to look for. So let me have your thoughts on this. The palace's silence spoke volumes, I think. Let me have your thoughts. Please choose your words carefully in the comments regarding royal family members, as I need to avoid problems with YouTube's algorithms on my channel. Thanks for watching. Like if you liked it, subscribe and ding the bell for alerts for more of these and for the next one, which will be part 2 of this series of 12. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.